everyone, it's Malia, and today I'm really excited because in this video I am going to be giving you guys a tour of my Notion. I've mentioned it in a few videos before, but if you don't know, Notion is an online workspace that I use to literally plan my entire life. If I had to describe it in one sentence, it's basically bullet journaling, but in an online format. I really like it because I've never bullet journaled, mostly because my handwriting is really ugly, so Notion is just very useful for those who like working more on the computer or are just more digitally savvy. And I've only started using this very recently, I think about last year, but I wish I discovered this in college because if I did, I probably would have done a lot better in school than I actually had. And what's great about Notion is that it is 100% free. I actually just switched over to their subscription plan, which is about $5 a month, just because I wanted to upload more photos, but honestly, anyone can get away with just their basic free plan. And before we dive in, I actually did get a lot of inspiration for my Notion from other YouTubers, so I'm going to link all of the references that I used for my pages in the description below. Most of my templates did come from Kristy and Kristy here on YouTube, so huge shout out to them. And lastly, this video is not necessarily going to be a guide on how to use Notion, but more so just a walkthrough of my own and what mine looks like. So let's just dive right in. Quick note, I tried filming this once before and it did not work out, so hopefully it works out this time. When we enter my Notion, we arrive at my home page. On the sidebar over here is where you can find all of your pages within your Notion. I actually like to just keep one main home page and make all of my subpages within that, so we're just going to close the sidebar for now. So now if we start at the top of my homepage, we first see this beautiful GIF that I chose as a header, and who wouldn't want to start their day looking at something like this? And then right below that, I have my 2021 focus word, which is consistency. This is something that I've been trying to work on more this year, so it's just nice to have that little reminder right at the top of the page. And I even added a quote that I found on Instagram that I think fits the vision of this word. And then right below that, I was able to embed a song that I chose, and let me play it real quick. If you know where this song is from, let me know in the comments. It is from a new Netflix show that was just released, and when I first heard it, I just instantly fell in love with the song, and I just thought it would fit the theme of my homepage, which is why I stuck it there. And then right below that is my first section of my homepage. It is split into 4 different columns, and it's mainly the links that go to my main pages and trackers that I use on a daily basis. The first column, we just have a nice aesthetic photo. This will probably change over time whenever I feel like I need to. And then below that, I just have a nice quote about self-confidence. And then in the second column are all of the links that I use to track my personal information. So I have my habit tracker, my food journal, my career tracker, daily routine, and also a miscellaneous page. And then right before that are my content pages for all of my social media channels. And then in the third column, I have another quote for self-confidence, because who doesn't need a nice reminder to believe in yourself a little more? And then right below that are a few GIFs of my favorite K-dramas. I thought this added a nice personal touch to my page, and it's just something that I love to look at every day. And then in the last column, we have a list of some of my February goals. I like listing this out so that I can have a visual reminder of what I'm working towards this month, so that they're just not goals that I say once and then forget about in a few weeks. And then right below that, I embedded a Spotify playlist that I chose. I like having this on deck because if I'm ever working and my Notion is up, I can just hit the play button and then have that playing in the background. And then if we scroll down to my next section, we have what I like to call my weekly planner. I decided to not use the calendar feature because the main calendar that I use is through my phone, and you don't necessarily need to use all of Notion's features. That's completely okay. So this is just what works best for me. The first thing I list is my week's focus, which I like to have because it helps me remember whatever my main goal is for the week. And then next we have a page titled Task List, and when you click into that, it is actually a board full of the things that I need to do for that month. So this page really helps me keep track of all of my tasks and errands. Like if I randomly think of something that I need to do, I can just pop it into this board so that I don't forget. And what's cool is that for each task, you can click it and it opens into another page so that I can further plan any details that I have for that specific task. So for example, my birthday is coming up, so if I click into this birthday picnic task, it opens a new page, and you can see here I jotted down all my notes or things that I needed to buy for this event. I even popped in some pictures for inspiration. So you can really just plan as meticulously and as detailed as you want within Notion. And what's cool about this board view is that you can move these tasks into different columns depending on where you want it to land. So I have my columns divided into my to-do list, to-buy list, and then once it's completed, I can just drag it over to the done column. So I really like to use this board view because I'm a very visual person. So instead of just writing things down and crossing it off on a list, I can just make it a little more fun where I can add a cute emoji and then write down my task and then drag it over when I'm finished. So if we go back to my weekly planner section, we now have the weekly to-do list in a table view, and this lists all of the tasks that I have for myself that week, and then it's sorted into the different days of the week, how high of a priority that task is, if it's done, and then if I have any notes for it. And I have the table sorted so that once I finish a task, it can just move automatically to the bottom of the list so that the newest days are at the top. And then what's cool is that if I end up not doing a task on a certain day, I can just change the day of the week I wanted to assign it to, and then it automatically shifts down to its proper place. I personally really love this table view. It is just a great way to keep track of things and have all of your lists organized and detailed. So fair warning, you are probably going to see it for the rest of my Notion pages. Ultimately, for my weekly plan, I originally had it separated by days, and then I had a checklist for each day, but then I found out that I ended up not using it at all because it just didn't make sense for me visually. So I found that this setup just helps me be a lot more productive and it's just more effective for me. Then if we scroll down into my last section, I have all my other personal pages that I don't necessarily use every day, but they are still important topics to me where I can plan different aspects of my life. So I have a 2021 page, a finance page, my wish list, my kdramas shows and films page, a book page, foods and recipes, and then finally a goals page. But we'll go over these later, and first we're going to scroll back up to my daily pages. So if we look under the For Me section, we're actually going to go into the Good Habits page first. This is a page that I use every single day because it is essentially my habit tracker. Also, if you know where these shifts are from, let me know in the comments. I love how customizable all of these pages are. And of course, I was going to put my favorite K-drama gifs because why not? So each month has its own dedicated page, and then when you click into that, you will be able to find the daily habit tracker. So here we have another table view, of course, and how it's split up is basically each day of the month for a row, and then each column is dedicated to one habit. So the habits that I'm trying to track and be more consistent with this year is waking up by 8, exercising, drinking enough water, reading, journaling, skincare, and then sleeping by 12. I usually update this every morning for the day before, and I like having it set up where I can see every single day of the month because that way I can clearly see where I fall off with these habits. So I know that if I'm not doing a good job or maybe missed a few days of exercising, then that will be a reminder to me that I need to get back onto the groove of things and make sure I exercise that next day, or I drink more water, or I pick up my book again. My goal this year is not to do every single habit that I want because that's just very unrealistic, but instead I want to make sure that I maintain some sort of level of consistency within my life. But I will highlight that in January, I did not miss a single day of my skincare routine, so that is definitely something worth celebrating. So the next page we have is my food journal, which is basically another tracker. It's separated by the different months, and then when you go into each month, it's just basically another table view. And then there, each day has their own row, and then the columns are split up where I write down the time I had my first meal, the time I ate my last meal, and then I literally just write what I ate that day for each meal. I am honestly doing this for no specific reason. I just really enjoy tracking things, and I figured why not just write down all of my meals? That's normal, right? And yeah, that's pretty much what my food journal is. The next page we have is my career tracker. So here is everything that's pretty much work and career related for me. I have a PDF of my current resume, and then next to that I have some links. One is for my online portfolio and then also my LinkedIn account. And then the last one is a running doc of all of the interview questions I've ever been asked. If you guys don't have one, I highly suggest you do because writing down every single interview question you've ever been asked is the best way to prepare for future interviews, because I guarantee you will be asked it again. And then after that, I have a table with my work history starting from high school until now. And then I just have it sorted by the company, how long I worked there, what the role was, who my manager was, and then how much I got paid. And I wanted to track this because I'm still very early on in my career, and I just want to use this to see how much I grow as a professional later on. And then right before the next section, I also have another cute GIF from the show Startup, which I think is very fitting for this page. I also have a quote from the show right next to it. Like I said, what I love about Notion is that you can literally customize these pages to fit your aesthetic and however way you like it. So that's just something I really appreciate about the app. And then we have another tracker of my interview history. So I basically just listed all the companies I've interviewed for, what the role was, when I interviewed, how many rounds, I rated my experience, and then I even put the outcome of it, and then I also had some space for notes. So that was my career page. The next page we'll go into is my daily routine. This is a very simple layout where I just list my morning, afternoon, and evening routine. I don't like to use a daily planner because I just don't feel the need to, but I like having this page in case I ever do need a little reminder of my basic daily tasks. And then my last for me page is actually really new. I just added it last week, and it is my miscellaneous page. I decided to use this just to dump all of the tests that I've been taking, so I just put my results from these so that I don't forget. Like you can see here, I have a personality test, my astro chart, and my love language quiz. I don't really have a structure for this page. I think it's just somewhere where I'll dump all these things that I don't want to lose. And if you guys have any other online tests that I could possibly take, please let me know. So now we can head into my content section, and this is all for my pages dedicated to my social media channels. And I use this pretty frequently because with planning videos on YouTube or TikToks, you need to be organized and to stay on top of it. So these pages definitely help me do that. My first page is actually just a directory of all my social media profiles. I was able to just list them all out and put a link to each profile. So that way, if I ever need to access them, I can just go straight into my Notion rather than the actual site trying to figure out which link actually goes to my profile. Next is my YouTube page. This is where I dump all of my ideas that I think of. Like here, you can see I have an ideas page. I also added some links for some tools or checklists that I like to use when I'm filming and editing. And then right below that is my table for my running list of videos that I'm working on or have already posted. I have it sorted from the most recent video at the top, and then I can assign it to a status, whether it's in the writing or planning or filming stage. And then I have a link to each video script that I write on a Google Doc, so it's a quick way for me to access it there. And then I can check it once it's published, and then I write down the published date and then any notes that I had, and then finally add the URL to the actual video. What's cool about the table view is that you can also make another page within each topic. So if I click on the title of the video, it actually opens another page. And before, I used to plan my videos within Notion, but I actually don't do that anymore because I just find it easier to put everything on the script that I use from Google Docs. My TikTok page is pretty similar and not as detailed. I just really have a section for any ideas or requests that I have, and then I have another table that just tracks all of the TikToks I've ever posted. It is not updated right now, so I'm probably gonna have to work on this after I film this video. And finally, we will not go into the Instagram page because it is completely blank. I don't really use Instagram as much as I used to, but hopefully that might change this year. I'm gonna try to be more active on that app, so hopefully I'll think of something to do with this page eventually. And now we're gonna head into my favorite section of my Notion, which includes all of my personal pages that are just more fun to use. So we can first hop into my 2021 page, and this is actually just my monthly reflection section. So each month has their own individual page, and then if we hop into the January reflections, for example, you can see that I already filled it out. In the beginning of the month, I listed my goals that I had for myself, and it was nice how at the end of each month, I was able to cross everything off that I achieved. Right next to that are my highlights, which I filled throughout the month, and these are just things that made me smile in January, that brighten up my day, day or any highlights that I had for myself or with others. And then if we scroll down, you can see I chose the song of the month, which of course is Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. If this wasn't your song of the month too, then I am judging you, because I cannot be the only one who listened to this song nonstop this month. And then right below that are just a few pictures that I chose for the month that I guess summed up my January. I obviously did a lot of mini makeovers for my room, and then there's a picture of me with my new curtain bangs. Yay. So now we can go into my finance page, where it basically just has to do with money. Not that I have a lot of it, but I use an outside expense tracker that I found from Kristy, and I basically use it to literally track all of my expenses and income. I won't go over it too much, but I'll link it here below if you guys want to check it out. But with that master tracker, I will then use it to fill out this table that I have to summarize exactly how much I spent this entire month, what the highest category was in terms of spending, and how much that specific category was. So then, for example, you can see here I bought a bunch of gifts in January. And then right below that, I have this little boba tracker that I like to use because I'm trying to make it a goal to buy less boba this year. And by the looks of it, I'm doing a good job, because I've only bought 5, and that's very low for me. And for some reason, my laptop does not have the new emojis. So in a perfect world, I would have a boba emoji right there, but Apple hates me. And then right below that are just a list of things that I'm saving for, and then the major purchases that I made this year. So for my next page, we have a wish list, which of course is another table view. And here I just dumped any ideas of things that I may want to buy soon. A lot of them have to do with things for my room. So for example, I really want to buy this side table soon, so I placed it in the correct category, how necessary it is. I really like having this column because it helps prevent me from impulse buying. So if I see the label can wait, it actually does stop me from buying that item sooner than I have to, and focus on the things that I actually do need to buy first. And then I just put how much it costs, and then any details like the link to the site it's on. And then once I buy it, I can just check the box and it's marked. And that's basically my wish list. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so we are probably going to enter my favorite page on my Notion. It is my K-dramas, shows, and films page. And yes, K-dramas and shows are 2 completely different categories. So if we go into it, of course, we're going to have some GIFs, and then I have a page strictly dedicated to just K-dramas. If we go into there, it's just a table of all the K-dramas I've ever watched, and then I sorted it into its status, what platform I found it on, when I started and finished it, the rating, how much I cried using emojis, of course, and then the watch count, and then any comments that I have. Then if we go back to the main page, I first have a board view of all the things that I'm watching for this month. It's basically divided on my watch list, and then once I start it, I can move it over to the current column, and then once I'm done with it, I can go ahead and move it over to the finished column. And this board is meant for me to use on a monthly basis, so that once the month ends, I can just move all of the finished movies and shows into the archive pile right over here, and it just hides them, and then that way it just resets the board for me for the next month. I also really like having this board, especially the current column, because I take a long time to watch shows and movies, so this helps me not forget any shows that I'm currently on in case I do happen to fall off. And then below that is just an extended version of all of the things that I watched this year. So I sorted it based off the name or show of that movie, what type of media it is, the watching status, genre, the date I watched it, on which platform, if I watched it for the first time or if it was a rewatch, the rating, and then any notes that I have. This is once again for no particular reason. I just really like tracking things, so maybe at the end of the year I'll be able to look at this table and hopefully just appreciate all the time I put into watching these shows and movies. And then right below that are obviously more GIFs. You can't have more than enough GIFs. I'm so obsessed with them. So then each month I'm just going to pick my favorite show and movie for that month and then find a cute GIF from them and then stick it on here. So then you can see in January my favorites were Bridgerton and Soul. Okay, so next we'll hop on over to my book page, and this is very straightforward as well. We have a nice GIF and a nice quote, and then below that I just have a table of all the books that I'm currently reading or want to read for this year. Then I list the author, how many pages it is, the rating I give it, the current status, which I have as queued, meaning books that I want to read, reading, finished, and also gave up. I also list the date I started, the date I finished, if it's completed, and then once again, any notes that I have. Pretty simple and to the point, and also don't judge me that it's so small. I just became a bookworm again, so hopefully this list will grow throughout the year. And then below that, I also have a section for fan fictions. I'm very guilty to admit that I love Harry Potter fan fictions, so that's just something I decided I wanted to track. We won't go into this that much, but if you know, you know. Next, we have my food and recipes page. This is very work in progress. I basically just have a table of some of my favorite dishes that I like to eat, where I can get them, and then right below that are different pages to some of my recipes that I've tried or wanted to try. Obviously, I don't have a lot because I don't cook that much since I still live with my parents, but hopefully this will grow over the year because I do want to get into the habit of cooking and baking again. And then for each recipes page, I basically listed the ingredient that I need for that specific recipe and have it in a checklist form. This is great for me so that if I'm ever out shopping, I can just check if I have that ingredient. And then right below that is just the instructions for the recipe. It's very tedious finding these recipes and putting them on my Notion, but it's a lot easier to just have it all in one place so that I don't have to constantly Google that recipe and try to make sure I find the right one. And finally, we have my last page dedicated for my goals. Here we have it in a board view for all the goals that I have for myself for this year and also for the rest of my life, hopefully. The first column is a list of broad goals that I have for myself for 2021. These are things that I'm not going to move because they're really just reminders of ways that I want to continually grow as a person. So I just have them listed here if I ever want to reference it. Next to that, I list my short-term goals and long-term goals. Short-term goals are pretty much things that I can do within a month's time, whereas long-term goals are things that might take up to a year or more to do. So that's just basically how I decided to sort that out. And then once I've completed a goal, I can just move it over to the done column. So this page is definitely work in progress. I also want to add a bucket list to this page eventually. So hopefully throughout time, I can start adding more goals that I want to do throughout the year or later on in the future. And then also hopefully my done pile will increase because what's the point of setting a goal if you're actually not going to try to achieve it? And yeah, that was pretty much my full Notion layout. That was a lot, so kudos to those who are still watching. And thank you so much for letting me give you this little tour or walkthrough of mine. I'm definitely contemplating if I want to make a template for my Notion layout because like I said, I got a lot of inspiration from other YouTubers, so I don't want to make a template for pages that don't really belong to me in the first place. But like I said, I'm going to link all of the references that I used in my description below. I do hope you guys enjoyed seeing what my Notion looked like and maybe this inspired you to download the app yourself. Notion has really changed my life in terms of helping me set and achieve goals, but it's also made me a more productive and organized person overall. So in short, thank you, Notion. You are probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. Let me know in the comments below if you use Notion and what your favorite features are. And if you enjoyed this video, just make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Until then, see you soon. Bye!